question we should be asking you. How'd it feel losing?
Are you okay? I'm not sure about that laugh. That was a kind of, I'm going to be so real with you. If I were you, I would probably change that laugh. Like, I think you were trying to give like Dr. Doom or something, but it was giving, Diddy. So anyway, let's get back into this. Can you tell me why you support Donald Trump's border crisis?
Border crisis? Are you kidding me? What border crisis?
Yep.
What a border crisis? Talk about
what do you mean? The border crisis that Donald Trump wants to cause. Can you tell me why you support it?
How about that VP Harris call?
All right, we're going to move on. This one's not looking to even engage in a conversation. He's just crying. Fix the laugh and then come back and let's try it again. That was kind of sad. Like, I'm trying to converse here and he's just crying. Matt, you voted for Trump?
Absolutely. Hamas already called for a ceasefire. It's embarrassing.
What'd you say?
Hamas already called for a ceasefire. It's quite sad.
You understand? Hold on, pardon me. You understand that if Hamas just called for a ceasefire, you understand that they'd probably call for a ceasefire because they know they're about to get obliterated by Israel because Donald Trump won the presidency. You understand? So let's get back into this. I'm asking you, why did you vote? First off, they didn't call for a ceasefire, but if they did, pardon me, they didn't. But
they should get obliterated.
All right. They didn't call for a ceasefire. You're spreading misinformation. But if they did, yeah, I could absolutely see them doing that now because they know that they're about to have their entire population obliterated because of Donald Trump.
If they not been harming,
but let's get back into this. Hold on. Why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Immigration, foreign policy.
Okay, let's talk about
economics.
immigration. What is Donald Trump's immigration policy?
To close the border.
That doesn't make any sense. What's his policy? It's not that simple. That's not how this works.
Most simple way to put it.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You don't have an open border now, so what is his policy?
Okay. Let's talk about the difference. Kamala and Biden.
Just tell me what his policy is first. Can you just do that? Can you just do that?
They were.
Can you just do that? No, the only person who was flying immigrants in was Greg Abbott. Can you tell me what Donald Trump's policy is?
Over the last 4 years, they have been.
Can you tell me what Donald Trump's policy is?
Yeah, to close the borders, not allow.
That's not a policy. That's not a policy. So what is Donald Trump's policy? Did you see what they did in New York? Hey, that's not a policy. What is Donald Trump's policy?
Did you see what he did?
What is Donald Trump's policy?
Yeah, he ended.
What is his policy to close the border? Go ahead.
Yeah, he just ended food vouchers for legal immigrants.
You're not actually answering. You're just interrupting me with nonsense. It's a simple question.
We're going to pass a real bill. A real.
Can you stop interrupting and just respond? What is his policy?
Is there a brand new bill yet?
Dude, what is Donald Trump's policy?
It's to close the border, bro.
That's not a policy, right?
It's a fucking statement and a mindset.
Right, a statement, but that's not a policy. What is his policy to close the border? Oh my god,
dude, you don't
know. Okay, so you don't know. You don't know.
What the fuck are you talking? Like,
you don't know what it is. That's not a policy. So you don't know what his policy is. So what? You willfully voted based off of your own ignorance?
We'll just see what happens, bud.
Are you here to converse or are you here to cry? Like, do you want to just tell me what the policy is?
No, we can converse.
Okay, so then let's do that. Can you tell me what his policy is? You need to answer. If you don't know his policy, just say that.
Has he came out with a public policy on the border, or has he said close the border?
Dude,
it's the common sense party, right?
You said you voted for him based off of the border, and now you're asking me if he even came out with a policy on it?
No, I voted for him for common sense.
No, you didn't. Bro. No, you did not. You said you voted for him based off of the border. You said you voted for him based off of the border, and now you're telling me that you don't know what his border policy is.
Let's not fly illegal immigrants in.
Let's start anew.
It's easy.
Let's start anew here. Hi, I'm Johnny.
Hi, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So let's get back into this, starting anew here. You said yourself that you were voting for, or that you had voted for, Donald Trump based off of immigration. Those words came out of your mouth.
Common sense.
I'm asking you what his policy is to secure the border.
Okay, here's his policy.
Tell me.
Ready? It's to end the Biden and Kamala's policy on the CBP One app, on flying people in. How much more simple can I put it? Opening the border.
That's not a good thing.
How much more simple can I put it?
Dude, okay, let's consider this, right? You look at Biden era policies.
Quit playing stupid. You're not stupid.
Hold on. You look at Biden era policies. You know for a fact that President Biden's border policies, asylum restrictions, he suspended the entry of most migrants crossing the border.
This led to a 77%. Ohio,
all right, you're not going to keep talking over me. This led to a 77% decrease of border crossings. Again, Joe Biden's policies from December to August led to a 77% decrease in border crossings, right? This has also led to fewer border crossings today than that of what we saw during points under Donald Trump. So why would you want to end those policies? Pardon me. Why would you want to end those policies?
Springfield, Ohio. Yeah, I would absolutely.
You're not answering the question, man.
You're putting me on mute. You're putting me.
Somebody drop a 20. I'll kick him. I don't care. I'm gonna keep playing with my food until then.
Drop 100.
Listen very closely. Again. Yeah, drop 100 and I'll really kick you. Again, President Biden's border policies have led to a 77% decrease in border crossings between December 2023 to August of 2024. So can you tell me why you would want to end those policies, and what policy do you intend to replace those policies with to secure the border? Please go ahead.
Okay. I would love to end the CBP One app where immigrants.
You're not responding to what I just said.
You're not letting me finish.
You're not responding to what I said, but you're not responding to what I said. You're not responding to what I just said.
This is what you asked me, right?
And you ignored my question.
Why would you change your policies?
Right, and I said that there's a 77% decrease in migrant crossings.
Man, you guys are fucked. We just won the Senate,
investment
the House, and the
Joe
presidency,
Biden's
man.
policies. You're saying that you want to replace it, but you won't tell me replace it with what?
We don't need to replace their bullshit.
You literally do. You need to replace a policy with a policy. You can't just say you're going to strip away the policy.
We're ending the policy.
What are you talking about? Oh, this is a
We're ending the policies,
theorist.
buddy.
What is the policy you're going to replace it with? That's my point here, right? You just advocated for an open border. You just advocated for an open border. So you just said that you want to strip away the policies that have decreased immigration by 77%, and you don't have a single policy to replace it. So that means you're advocating for an open border. So my question to you is, why do you want an open border?
York.
Can you respond to what I just said?
You said that.
I just said that there was a 77% decrease between December of 2023. You're not listening, so you're not going to respond again. So you got to listen this time, right? Stop aggressively unmuting and ignoring what I said, and then doing it over and over again. Again, you're not listening. You're just waiting to speak. Okay, so I need to repeat it because you didn't hear me. You just did it again. Okay, there was a 77% decrease in migrant crossings between December of 2023 and August of 2024. This is because of Joe Biden's policies, right? The policies, for example, blocking those who are seeking asylum, having restrictions on that sort of migration. You're saying that you want to strip away those policies. Fine and dandy if you do you, boo. But the point of the matter is you got to be able to replace it with a policy that is going to continue or even further decrease migration. You're not telling me what that policy is because you don't know what it is. And if that is the case, then you are advocating for an open border because that 77% decrease is going to turn into a 77% increase if you don't replace it with something. So what is the policy that you are going to replace Joe Biden's policies when it comes to immigration with? Can you respond?
Yes, and I'm going to slow everything down and calm everything down, okay? So you said that over last year, immigration came down 77%, right? Illegal immigration crossings have come down 77%.
Yep.
Why is it in New York we just ended food vouchers for illegal immigrants? Why is it that we just
what is the
we have 40,000 people in Springfield, Ohio?
You just did it again.
If it's not a problem,
you just did it again.
Why is it in the news?
What is the policy?
Why is it in the news?
Dude, you're not going to come up here and say you're advocating for an open border. If you want an open border, just say so.
Great border.
I'm trying to ask you, what is the policy you're going to implement to decrease migration? You refuse to answer.
You have no common sense, bro.
Can you just answer?
Gay-ass part.
Again, 77% decrease in migration under Joe Biden. You're saying you want to strip away the policies that led to that 77% decrease. Can you tell me what policy you're going to replace it with? You won't tell me. That's because you don't know the policy. So let me ask you again. After after you kick out undocumented migrants, right? Look it up. Okay, let's move on. This one's just crying. Like, what am I supposed to do there? Like, what? That was blatant ignorance. He's saying that even though that there was a 77% decrease between December of 2023 and August of 2024 in migration, that he wants to strip away the policies that Joe Biden implemented to lead to that 77% decrease. My point is that's totally fine if you want to do that. Go for it, right? Like, they're about to have 4 years in office. Go for it. However, you need to be able to replace it with something. What is the policy you're going to replace it with? Otherwise, you're advocating for an open border. You can't just take something away and not secure the border. And he was saying, well, I don't know. Okay, then you can't strip away Joe Biden's policies. Like, take the L and recognize you don't know what you're talking about. Mary, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
So did you vote for Trump?
No, but I had a question for you. Please don't kick me.
All right, I appreciate it. I am just looking to talk to folks on this subject right now. If you do have a question, feel free to message me, and I can respond to it. But I am looking to stay on the subject right now. Also, do we have any mods on?
Yo.
Hi there. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes.
Gotcha. And why do you hate America?
That's not hating America. That's
Well, I mean, you're advocating for an open border, aren't you?
I want closed borders.
Oh, and how are you going to do that?
That's what Trump's doing. He's gonna close the border.
How's he going to? How?
You can come here legally, is what he said, not illegally.
That doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're not advocating for legal immigration. Your party, for example, look no further than Florida, right?
I mean, either way, I'm just.
Well, hold on. This is important. This is important. Look no further than Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis implemented SB 1718. The Senate bill, right, that he passed prosecuted those who hired undocumented employees, which makes up 40% of his agricultural workforce. So 40% of farmers were deported, and now he's complaining about having a farming workforce shortage that he caused himself. So help me better understand this. He doesn't want a pathway to legal citizenship. That's why he deported them. Otherwise, he would have passed, for example, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act that would have provided a legal pathway to citizenship for that 40% agricultural workforce of undocumented immigrants. So what you're saying isn't true. Why are you hurting your own economy, hurting your own workforce by deporting undocumented immigrants instead of providing a pathway to citizenship that would be easier for them to become citizens? Can you help me understand that logic?
I mean, either way, when he was already president once. Things were cheaper,
and we know how
gas
that
was
turned
cheaper,
out.
everything was cheaper. Inflation was Kamala, dude.
What's inflation today?
Oh, if you go to McDonald's, you got to spend $10 for a Big Mac.
Right. So you're making the case that that would be corporate greed at McDonald's. And secondly, please stop buying Big Macs.
Everywhere.
That is not
It's
healthy.
everywhere.
Every Big Mac, you're shortening your life by 2 days. So help me better understand this
no
again.
matter what you
Hold on.
do, what I'm
inflation
saying
today
is
is 2.1%. Inflation under Donald Trump was 2.4%. So don't play with me on what inflation is,
It's
right?
not, dude. Look
That
it
is
up.
the fact. Look it up. Go give me a source. I'll wait.
Either way, dude.
Okay,
Trump
so you don't want to get me a
take
source,
L
so you
and put the
admit
fries
that
in
I'm
the
right and you're
bag.
wrong.
Put the fries
So let's
in the
get back
bag.
into the border.
Get
Listen
a
very
job, dude.
closely.
Trump lost.
Listen very closely. Again,
Trump won. Kamala.
you're crying. Calm down. Calm down. You're embarrassing yourself, right? So help me better understand this. You are advocating for deporting undocumented immigrants, and I agree that we should. However, you are a Republican.
Trump won.
So,
Take
okay,
the L.
he's
He won't
sundowning.
take
Let's
the
move
L.
on.
Take.
Keep sundowning. You know, if you had elected Kamala, she would have cut the cost on the prescriptions that you would have needed to treat your sundowning. But you went with Trump. So that's unfortunate. Looks like you'll be dealing with that for a couple weeks. Hello.
Hello.
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes. And
Why? So why are you advocating for an open border? Is it like, do you hate America, or what is it?
No, I just like the people that Donald Trump's surrounding himself with.
Right. He's surrounding himself with illegal immigrants, right? He surrounded himself with Melania. He married an undocumented immigrant. So can you tell me again, why are you advocating for a border crisis? Like, why are you advocating for Donald Trump to cause an undocumented immigrant crisis at our border? Like, why do you want that? And that was my question. Can you respond? You're advocating for an open border. Why?
How long do you think you're going to be making money off this?
You're not responding. Did you come here to talk about something else, or do you want to talk about the subject? And we got a runner. No, we got a runner. Let's get some cow emojis in the chat, please. Yeah, we got a runner. He really thought he was going to talk about something else. See, the issue is that these people who voted for Donald Trump do not know what Donald Trump is going to do to secure the border. And the fact of the matter is, he's not going to do anything. He's going to cause a border crisis. Hello. I just used a lip balm just to trigger all the MAGA Republicans in the chat. I think it's funny. Anyway, did you vote for Donald Trump?
No, I voted for Kamala.
All right. Thank you for voting for the common sense candidate. Let's get up our next guest here. Hello?
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 Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Copying me?
You copying me?
Oh, yeah, you are.
Oh, yeah, you are. All right. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so help me better understand that then. What is Donald? Thank you, Ash, for the galaxy. What is Donald Trump's policy here to secure the border?
Oh, no, I was hoping you could educate me because it seems like you have an idea that he's running for an open border.
Yeah, he is. Right. And it's not that he's running for one, it's that he's going to cause one. We can also talk about the fact he's going to cause an economic collapse when it comes to the border, right? Look no further than Florida as your test subject. This isn't a hypothetical, it's what happened. 40% of the workforce in Florida, when it comes to agriculture, are primarily undocumented immigrants, right? And so now, for example, Governor Ron DeSantis had SB 1718, and this led. Are you driving?
Yeah, I'm driving.
All right, listen, I know that you voted for a felon yourself, but you don't got to become a felon. You know, put the phone down, focus on the road. You don't got to hit a kid while you're out there, right? Texting and driving is bad. My gosh. Folks, if you like what you're hearing today and you want to support me, my Venmo and PayPal Cash App, those are in my bio. Guest, hi. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
No, I'm doing well, thank you. So I voted for Trump, and I'm in California, which my vote basically didn't count here.
Yeah, but goes towards the popular, still counts.
What's that?
Goes towards the popular, still counts.
Correct. But I've lived on the border my entire life, from El Paso to Yuma to San Diego, and under Trump it was better as far as the MPP program. Are you familiar with that?
But help me better understand this. What is Donald Trump's plan right now to secure the border, right? Because we recognize, for example, many of the policies that President Biden had implemented, even restrictions he put on asylum seekers, that right there led to a 77% decrease in migration from December of 2023 to August, right? And so these policies led to a 77% decrease in immigration. Would you want to strip that away? And if so, what do you plan to replace it with? You can't just create a problem and not offer a solution.
No, you're missing. 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 No, you're missing.
Clearly, I'll be laughing the entire time. So let's get back into this. Okay. Again, you're advocating for the retraction of these policies that President Biden implemented that led to a decrease in immigration. We recognize, of course, at the get-go of his administration, there was an increase in immigration on the extent that there was a pandemic. And when that pandemic was diminished and the economy was reopened, more migrants come across the border, and that is to be expected. However, you can look at, for a fact, right, we recognize, and I got the numbers right here.
You're not going to educate me on the border because I actually
you know nothing about the border. Don't even play right now because you didn't even tell. Excuse me, you didn't tell me what the policy was that he was going to incorporate to secure the border. So don't play with me.
It was the
Border Patrol recorded.
Idiot.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Border Patrol. Excuse me. Border Patrol recorded 58,000 crossings. Okay, those crossings were in August of this year. That is according to the Pew Research Center based off of government statistics. Again, that is a 77% decline from encounters in December. That is thanks to President Biden's policies. Now, this is lower than that of what we saw under Donald Trump. For example, in May of 2019, Donald Trump saw 132,000 crossings. That is a
Look at
Sharp
the overall average
contrast
for the last 3.5
to that of the
years
58,000.
compared to Trump's.
Pardon me. Again,
No, you just keep talking.
132,000.
If you just want to talk about yourself,
58,000.
why have anyone else
Kamala
up here?
Joe, 58,000. Donald Trump, 132,000. So again, you want to remove the policies that led to that 77% decrease in immigration, then tell me, what are you
He's
going to
the one who
replace it
started
with?
it. It's like if I
What
throw
are
you off a
you
ship-
going to
hold on.
replace
If I
Joe
throw
Biden's
you off a ship
policies
and then
with?
I throw you a life preserver,
What are
now
you
I'm the hero
going
because I saved you.
to replace?
So you're
Joe
just going to
Biden's
overtalk me.
policies with?
Is that your policy? Is that
Can
how
you keep
debate?
crying?
No,
And if you're
is-
gonna
is
keep
that how
crying, would you just
debate?
cry
You
into
just
this
talk
cup?
over other people?
Can you just cry into this cup if you're going to keep crying your tears? You're going to
Look
do
at
the whole
this guy.
thing.
You're such a beta male. Really?
Just cry
You
into the
just
cup,
talk over
man.
people?
There you go. It cuts
Is
the
that
tears.
all you do?
Hey, you know what? Just got to, in case we have another drought.
So what's 8 USC
Oh, there we go.
1325? No.
Thank you.
Explain that.
Anyway, so help me better understand
Yeah.
this again. Pardon me. What is Donald Trump going to incorporate to secure the border? Can you just
I
respond?
just said the Langford
You did
bill.
not.
He would bring
No,
that
that's
back.
not what he's doing. Period. That's not his policy. You're saying he's going to
it's
bring
not.
back policies that he had incorporated in the past. For example, you could look at the Remain in Mexico Act. He can't, right? His own Supreme Court found it unlawful, so we can't be playing
No,
with
the
this
Supreme
nonsense.
Court didn't find it unlawful.
Dude, why am I
You're an
playing
idiot.
with you?
You are an absolute
Why am I
idiot.
playing with you? First off,
The-
fuck you. You don't just sit there calling me an idiot. Are you out of your mind? Secondly, you're speaking nonsense and blatantly lying. Okay, I'm trying to be really respectful to you, and you're being absolutely disrespectful, right? Like, let's better understand this. If you're not going to come up here and spew facts and you're just going to play nonsense and try to play around here, beat around the bush on it, then just leave. I didn't force you up here, right? Donald Trump is running on mass deportation. That is his only policy when it comes to immigration. You are suggesting that he is going to what? Incorporate a bill that took place during his first term. Many of those bills were found unlawful, and that's why he's not running on that. That's why he didn't campaign on that. So here's what you're going to go do. Listen, Pookie, there was a 77% decrease in migration, and not one Trump supporter has come up here and told me what is Donald Trump going to do when he strips away those restrictions that President Biden put into place. So if you're not going to do that, let me at least move on to get somebody up here who can. Like, why am I playing with you? Like, that was way too long for me to have a conversation where I didn't get even a single question answered. And for you to sit up here and call me an idiot when I'm telling you facts and stats and you can't answer a simple question, come on. Like, let's be so real, right? Jaden, hello. 3, 2, 1. Okay, goodbye. All right, here's what we're going to do. There we go. Hopefully that's a easier topic for these Trump supporters. It's funny how Trump supporters can't answer about the border, so I guess I have to stop asking them about it.
I just want you to
quite
know.
literally nothing. Hold on, wait, your mic is breaking up?
Can you hear me?
Nope. Did you vote for Donald Trump? All right, your mic is garbage. Let's move on. Do we have any mods on right now, by the way?
Yo, what's up, man?
Hold on, take a second. Oh, I see MT. All right, we need more mods as well. We can't just be MT on our own. Who wants to mod up? Do you want to chill for a second? My gosh. You were not my priority here. You were like a side quest. Like, what do you...
Hey, can you hear me, bro?
My gosh.
Yo, can you hear me? Hello?
So anyway, did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
Gotcha. And why do you hate America?
I hate him. Well,
Excuse me. Why do you hate America?
well, I'm registered as a Democrat. I voted for.
I don't care what you're registered as, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Donald Trump is probably about to be registered as a sex offender, right? You know. But anyway, so point being is, can you tell me why you voted for Donald Trump?
The reason why I voted for Donald Trump, I live in the state of Texas, and the border's definitely chaotic, a hot mess.
Okay, so You have a crappy governor. Why is that my problem?
It's not the problem. The problem is for the whole nation.
So you're saying that your governor sucks. I agree. His name's Greg Abbott. Replace him, right? Replace him.
I think there's something that we could agree on.
Replace him?
No.
Yeah, that we should replace your governor, Greg Abbott. Get him out. What are you talking about?
Can I say something real quick?
Let me think about it. So again, hold on. You're suggesting that your governor sucks. You understand?
I think Greg Abbott did pretty good.
You're saying he did good, but you're saying that border crossings are a problem. Help me better understand that logic. He can't do well if you have a border issue in Texas, right? How can he be doing a good job if you have a border issue in Texas?
The reason why the border crisis will never be solved either by a Republican or Democrat, I'm going to tell you why. The reason why we need illegals here is to help fund Social Security. That's the only way Social Security will be funded.
No, I don't disagree.
That's the reason why.
I don't disagree. But your party doesn't get that. My party does. Here's the difference between us. And let me explain the math on this. I agree with you. Let me explain. In Florida, for example, right, 40% of the agricultural workforce is made up of undocumented immigrants. You have Ron DeSantis, who signed the bill SB 1718 to remove those undocumented immigrants from serving in his workforce. Now he's complaining about not having enough farmers. Right. It cut $13 billion out of his economy. That's cutting it out of Social Security. And we know that undocumented immigrants don't take from those benefits like Social Security. So they contribute to our U.S. GDP every single year, $300 to $450 billion, and they take absolutely nothing from it. They only add. But your party isn't even advocating for a pathway to citizenship to make it easier for them to come into the country legally. For example, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, your party blocked it. My party, the Democrats, put it forth. That would have helped Republican states, but y'all cut off your own noses to spite your own faces. That's on you, right? So you're not advocating for a legal pathway to citizenship for these undocumented immigrants who make up your workforce and add to your GDP. You're just kicking them out to hurt yourself.
No.
What's that
we're not
logic?
kicking them out, but here's the thing. The reason why Trump won the Latino voters, and
well, you're not going to respond to what I just said. I don't care what Trump won Latino voters. You're not responding to what I just said.
I know. I'm gonna tell you why. There's not gonna be a pathway to citizenship because there's a lot of Latinos out there.
But you have to have the pathway to citizenship.
They waited in line for plenty of years, and you got these people.
But you just created a problem. You just created a problem, though. Again, when 40% of your workforce in agriculture are undocumented immigrants, right? And you're going to kick them out, that creates a problem for farmers, and that creates a problem for your GDP. That creates a problem for your economy, right? Ron DeSantis is the example here. He lost $13 billion because of this, and now he's running around complaining that he doesn't have farmers. Fun fact, Americans don't want to do that work. We just don't, right? We're not lazy, but it's labor intensive, and we don't want to do it. So undocumented immigrants do. The same way, for example, you think of Italian immigrants decades ago. They were the bricklayers. They were the seamstresses. Americans didn't want those jobs. The undocumented immigrants took the jobs. And now you're again hurting you're hurting your own economy and then not creating a pathway to citizenship. So how are you going to solve that issue for farmers? For example, you just cut 40% of their workforce. How are you going to fix that?
So basically, the way you could fix it is simple. You promote you basically tell all these companies, you only gotta hire Americans only. If you hire illegal undocumented workers, you probably get a fine or something you have to pay like a fine. But we do need illegal immigrants in the workforce, and the reason why this issue was
now you're advocating for an open border.
Hold on. The reason why this issue became more of a bigger issue is because you got people coming from Venezuela, that were getting free money, and that people that came in here illegally, but worked and not asked for a single cent from the government, just to make sure their families were fed, working hard, even though they were illegal.
Okay, but you're rambling. Again, you just advocated then for an open border. You just suggested that we should have undocumented immigrants. Let me get this right. Do you want the undocumented immigrants here, or do you not want them here?
We need them, but we need them to get work permits.
Okay, so you want them to be here, but you're saying that you want to, first off, don't talk about DACA, right? Your president is advocating against DACA. He tried to cut it 4 times. The only people that stopped him was the Supreme Court. And it's more than likely during this term he will cut DACA because he now has the majority in the Supreme Court, right? So don't say that you want to expand DACA. Your president said he would cut DACA, right? So
Well,
ignore
I want-
DACA
I
now.
wanted to
That's not going to
speak
be
to
there
you,
for
but you
you.
wanted to help
Look no
him, so
further.
I'm not sure
Hold
if
on.
being
Look no
contradictory.
further for you, right? Again, you just said that you want undocumented immigrants here. Your party doesn't. And your party wants to cut 40% of their agricultural workforce, thus being undocumented immigrants. So you voted for that. How are you going to solve that? You're saying you want an easier pathway to citizenship. It was the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. Democrats put it forward. Your party blocked it, even though it would have helped your party far more than it would have helped the Democrats. So can you help me better understand? You caused a problem. Farmers are getting screwed as we speak in Florida. How are you going to fix them?
That governor of Florida is an idiot. I don't want to talk about him. He's
Dude, man, you voted for this. You voted for it, man. So how are you gonna fix it? You can't take your vote back now. You can't take the vote back. You can't take the vote back now. So now how are you going to fix the problem that you're causing, that your president's going to cause?
The thing is, with DeSantis, he realized that he was an idiot. Because
Dang. So your answer to farmers is you don't know how you're going to fix it. Deal with it. Is that what you're telling farmers?
With farmers, I think there's technology out there that farmers can access.
There's not. There's not.
I don't work in the agriculture
There's
side,
not
so I'm
technology
sure.
out there for them to access. It does not exist. 40% of their workforce were undocumented immigrants. You took them away. Now what do? We don't want those jobs. I don't want that job. You don't want the job. Nobody in the chat wants those jobs because it's labor intensive and it doesn't pay well, which is why undocumented migrants are taking those jobs. If they don't take those jobs because you will not allow them to do so, we know in Florida alone, it took $13 billion out of the pocket of Floridans, whatever, in 1 month alone. So what's your solution here to ensure that we are making up for the $300 billion GDP loss you're going to encounter, making up for the 40% agricultural workforce loss you're going to encounter? Like, here's my issue. I'm explaining the logic here. I'm a Pennsylvanian. You understand, I'm advocating for the legal pathway to citizenship to be more easier through the Workforce Modernization Act because I believe that it'll help your state, and it will. The numbers are the numbers. It proves it'll help your state. Realistically, my state would thrive if you did do away with undocumented migrants because your state would suffer, right? For example, Florida, a Republican state, would suffer because they rely on the 40% agricultural undocumented migrants. If they're not there, then my state that doesn't rely on that 40% agricultural migrant population, like we don't have that in Pennsylvania. Like we're going to do better off with our farmers. Our farmers are going to make more money in Pennsylvania. You're advocating against your own interests. I'm trying to help you here, but realistically, I should be advocating against your interests because Pennsylvania will do better economically. Ain't that crazy?
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
But this is what you voted for. So what's the solution now, man? This isn't even a hypothetical anymore. He's going to be president. So what's the solution?
What's the solution?
Right.
It's easy. The reason why he won, the Latino vote, there's a lot of Latinos out there, that went through the process and that waited a long time. And when people are getting a free pass, getting government cars with lots of money in it, they feel like, what? They should do it the same way we did it. They should wait through the process.
What was that?
Some people waited 20 years.
Bro, what was that word salad, man?
No, I'm just telling you, a lot of Latinos feel, they should wait in line like everybody else.
You're saying you want a legal pathway to citizenship, but you're not providing the legal pathway to citizenship. Again, your party blocked, for example, that Workforce Modernization Act. Like that was the expansion on the legal pathway to citizenship to ensure that undocumented immigrants who were here making up that 40% of the agricultural workforce were now documented and accounted for. You blocked that. So don't say you're advocating for a legal pathway to citizenship. You blocked it. You blocked the legal pathway to citizenship, and you're voting for a candidate, Donald Trump, who isn't saying he wants to ensure that those taking part in the program of DACA receive citizenship. He's saying he's going to kick him out of the country, right? So you're not advocating for a legal pathway to citizenship.
He's not going to kick him out. He's not going to kick him out.
He says he will.
He's smarter than that. He said a whole bunch of things that he was going to do.
He already tried to. The Supreme Court stopped him. The Supreme Court won't stop him this time. To be clear, DACA's ending. Wait, let's be clear. DACA's ending. I'm a Democrat. I'm telling you, DACA will not be here. This isn't me fear-mongering. The only person who stopped Donald Trump the first time was a 5-4 decision in the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is no longer here. Donald Trump has the Supreme Court. There will be nobody to stop him. He has both the House and the Senate. DACA's gone. Okay? It's the first day in office. I bet you he gets rid of DACA. So it's not a hypothetical.
I don't think so, man.
He said he would.
So, but hey, Johnny, but I'm gonna have to let you go, man. It was a good conversation.
Why? Because he got cooked and you want to run?
No. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I like speaking to you. This is my first time coming across your channel.
You got cooked, man.
Hey, respect to you, brother. Have a good one.
Anyway, folks, if you like what you're hearing today and you want to support me, my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are in my bio. I greatly appreciate the love. I want to say a massive thank you to Megan for the $5 and also to Selena for the $2. Thank you. Let me get up our next guest here. That was wild. Like, Eric, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting your information from. I work in Pennsylvania quite a bit. I work in the beef and all food industries.
What part?
Harrisburg.
Okay.
Almost War.
What's your point?
Milton.
What's your point?
Every plant that we work in have illegal, undocumented.
That's not true. However,
workers.
did you vote for Donald Trump? Whoa, calm down! Don't you raise your voice and start cursing at me. Are you out of your mind? Again, you just blatantly lied. And also, second point, you just said something on video here that I can't wait to use in the future on you. You just said that you are well aware that there are undocumented immigrants working at your plant. Under Donald Trump's policy, that is going to be a federal offense. You understand that's a felony, what you just said? So when he implements the policy where you have to report those who are undocumented in your workplace environment, this is filmed and you just said you're well aware that there are undocumented migrants at your place of business and you did not report them. So I'm going to keep this video and I'm going to use it in the future. And I look forward to that. Oh, did I forget to mention this was filmed? Anyway, so you just said yourself that you committed a felony offense. Why'd you do that? Can you help me, unmute, help me better understand that. You just said you committed a felony offense. Why did you not report the undocumented migrants at your place of employment? And you said this on your personal account. Christine, thank you so much for the $25. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much, Christine. That is beyond kind. Eric, unmute. Pardon the cough, folks. I apologize. Asthma's acting up. Eric, unmute. You just said that you didn't report undocumented migrants who were working at your place of employment.
No, that's not what I said.
You just said you have undocumented migrants at your place of employment. Did you report them or no? You just said it. This is on video. You don't stay. No. You're not going back now. You just said you did. You can't backtrack. You can't backtrack. You said you have undocumented migrants at your place of employment. Period. You just said you have undocumented migrants at your place of employment in your plant. Tell me again, why did you not report them? You can't go back. This is filmed. Don't go back. Don't change your wording. It's on film. Okay? So tell me again.
That's not what I said. You
did. Period. Why didn't you report them?
My company.
Your company's employing undocumented immigrants. That's what you said. So tell me again.
My company. Tell me
again. Why didn't you report them? That's a felony offense under Donald Trump. I'm trying to tell
you what I said. You're misunderstanding.
You're not going to change what you said. You're not going to change what you said. I'm not misconstruing anything. You said it word for word. Period. So now tell me.
Play it back.
Why? Excuse me.
Play it back.
Why? Excuse me. Why didn't you report them?
That's not what I said.
Why didn't you report them?
That's not
it
what
is.
I said.
Everybody in the chat heard it too. That is what you said. Chat, is that what he said? Let's find out. Eric. Chat, is that what he said? You ought to find a new company now, man, because your company's not going to be happy when you cut their workforce like this. Because you better bet that, hey, we're in a whole new era, right? I mean, you thought Democrats were tolerant. You just wait. Like I said, I'm keeping this video. The second that policy's implemented and he's going to implement it, you better bet. You better bet that's to be a good felony offense on your account for not reporting the undocumented migrants. Lewis, thank you so much for the $5. Lewis, thank you for the $5 on Cash App. I appreciate the love. And Omaida, thank you so much for the $5 on Cash App. Thank you so much.
The plants that we work at have been caught and fined with undocumented workers. Myself, my company that I work for, do not have. It's the plants.
That's not what you said. Again, what you said was that your place of employment, that your plant You're saying you misspoke because you realize you're in big trouble for this one. That's on you, man. That's on you, right? Accountability fucking sucks, don't it? Yeah. Again, you're like, then I misspoke. You just said you misspoke. No, man. Oh, you're in trouble. Like, I'm keeping the video. I think you think I'm kidding. I'm so fucking not kidding right now. Again, you said that your place of employment was hiring undocumented migrants, right? And you didn't report them. I pointed it out. If you didn't report them, you're committing a felony offense under Donald Trump's his policy, right? That's a felony. Okay? So again, I hope that you report them as soon as possible, because you better bet that this is getting reported into the proper facility and that we're going to have that investigated, right? That's accountability. This is what you voted for. Oh, it stinks when it affects you, doesn't it? It stinks when it affects you. So again, just a reminder, folks, if you are working with undocumented migrants under Donald Trump's policy, that is a felony offense if you don't report them. This guy just said his plant was hiring undocumented migrants and that he encounters them daily and that he didn't report them. Okay, great. I hope you enjoy your felony. Tamara, thank you so much for the $7 on Cash App. I appreciate the love, Tamara. Thank you so much. So, what's the first thing you're going to do when you become a convicted felon, man? What's the first thing you're going to do? Unmute. Come on. Tell me. What's the first thing you're going to do? I got to imagine that this one's probably going to cost you your job at your plant, huh?
Well, for one, I don't work at a plant. I do work for the plants.
Gotcha. So you're just throwing the plants under the bus. Wow. So what are you? Are you a contracted employee?
No.
So what, you just showing up to the plants for a good time? Do you get paid? Who pays you?
I work for a contracting company.
Okay, yeah. Well, you're not going to have a lot of contracts after this, aren't you? Yeah, because you just threw your own consumers under the bus, didn't you? Anyway,
God,
so tell me again, what is Donald Trump's policy here? Like, how is he going to secure the border?
I would like to see.
Oh, you're a little shaken up after that one, ain't you?
No,
yeah, it sucks, man. I get it. That's called accountability.
Oh
you voted
God, dude.
for that. I hear it in your voice. You're a little shook up. It sucks, but it makes me happy. Again, accountability sucks. What you gonna do, right? Sucks to suck, right? That's F your feelings, huh? Stinks when somebody says it to you. So help me get back into this, man. What is Donald Trump's policy here to secure the border? Go on. Oh, you scared? Oh, you are shook. Dude, again, maybe you didn't know what you said, but you said it on video. Don't get all upset with me now and stop talking to me just because of what you said. That's on you, man. So tell me again, what is Donald Trump's policy to secure, the border?
If you play back what I said,
hey, I get you're shook. Listen, pay attention.
Dude, let me talk.
Listen, Eric, I don't need you to try to misconstrue stuff. You said it on video. It's cool. I got the video. We got it clipped. I'm gonna save that video, and then I'm gonna report it up to the proper facility and state government to ensure that is investigated. Man, again, that's life, right? You said that you didn't report undocumented migrants. I mean, that's a direct violation of Donald Trump's policy.
No,
that's a felony offense. That's even part of his mass deportation policy.
Dude,
you're violating
play
it.
It back.
Excuse me. We don't got to even hold on. You said it twice. We don't even got to harp on this anymore because I don't care. This is redundant to me until 2 months from now, right? So you got 2 months. Don't worry, but just know it will be reported. I ain't even capping here. That's gonna be reported, man. So let me get a better understanding here and try to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You don't got to be so shook about it, right? Again, we'll come back in 2 years, worried about it then. Tell me, what is Donald Trump's plan to secure the border?
For one, not to have undocumented people coming into the country.
But you just said yourself you want to hire them, but we could get past that.
No, that's not what I said.
So help me better understand this.
Dickhead.
That is what you said.
That's not what
so
I
help
said.
me better understand this. You know for a fact that in Florida alone, 40% of the agricultural workforce are undocumented immigrants. When you take them out of the equation, in Florida, they lost $13 billion. How are you going to make up that difference?
You're not.
So what's the solution? You cause a problem and then what?
No, the problem was originally that because of lazy people, like you said, you wouldn't want to do it, so they're the only ones that do it. That's bullshit.
Nope, that is statistically proven.
You make the people work.
That is statistically proven. The reason why those leading the agricultural industry hire, right, undocumented migrants is because Americans don't want the job. And it's also why most farmers are generational. They teach their kids how to farm, and those kids teach their kids how to farm. Farming is one of the most labor-intensive, hard-working, and typically forgotten about industries, and yet it's the most important. Like, let's be real, right? Let's not pretend. If you remove those undocumented migrants, well, actually, we don't got to pretend, right? It's not a hypothetical anymore. In Florida, they cut out 40% of the workforce, stripped away the undocumented migrants who were making up the agricultural workforce. Why didn't those in Florida make up the difference? Why didn't Florida residents take those jobs? Because they didn't want them. And then they lost $13 billion as an effect of this, right? They're also dealing with the manufacturing issue on produce because, again, if farmers don't have employees, they can't manufacture produce. So what's the solution here, right? What is your solution for Florida, and why do you want to implement this on like a national level?
What, to document people when they come over the border to go to work? It happens every day. People cross the border to work agricultural jobs.
Right, and then you kick them out.
They get permits to do it.
Ron DeSantis kicked them out, and Donald Trump wants to kick them out. You understand? Ron DeSantis already did it. Donald Trump says he's going to do it. This isn't a hypothetical. This isn't Johnny's wrong. No, dude, look it up. Florida did it. Florida has already done it.
The people that you're speaking of are undocumented, correct?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
So now, for example, you have Democrats, pardon me, you have Democrats who said, well, undocumented migrants make up 40% of the agriculture industry, and they add $300 to $450 billion to our annual GDP. Clearly, if we're going to remove them, we should actually just offer them a legal pathway to citizenship so that they can remain in those positions, as Americans don't want the positions. So, for example, you have the Farm Workforce Modernization Act that Democrats put forth that would have accomplished that very topic, but Republicans blocked it. So it's obvious. I mean, they did that and it hurt themselves. It didn't hurt Democrats. It hurt Republican states. So they lost out on GDP growth. They lost out on their own workforce. Now they're complaining about it, and they didn't even offer a legal pathway to citizenship. So what's the solution here? You can't say you want people to come over documented. You don't want people to come over legally, right? That's why they didn't pass that act. Ron DeSantis isn't letting them back in legally. He's just not letting them back in. So what is your solution here? You can't just cause a problem for farmers and then say, fuck them.
Absolutely not.
So what's the solution?
What would be my solution?
What's your candidate's solution?
He's not my candidate.
You said he voted for Donald Trump.
What is the solution? Not one time did I say I voted for Donald Trump.
You said it
unable to vote
from the get-go. That was a blatant lie. No, now you're changing the story. Get out of here. You said you voted for Donald Trump. I just slapped you down on facts and stats, and now you're turning around and saying that you didn't say that either. Dude, you can't just keep saying things and then going back and turning around and saying you never said it. Like, we all heard you say you voted for Trump. You told me exactly why you voted for Trump. What are you talking about, man?
I voted
Was I talking to you yet?
I'm sorry. I said Hillary, but I said I could vote for Kamala Harris.
Oh, thank you for voting for Kamala. I appreciate it. Let's get up our next guest. Folks, if you're voting for, or if you had voted for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. If you voted for Kamala Harris, please do hit that like button, hit the share button, help us get to 200,000 likes. We're going to get up our next guest here. Oh, and as always, if you did enjoy, what you're hearing today, my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, those are in my bio. I greatly appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the support. I want to say a massive thank you to Samantha as well, who had just pitched in $5. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate the love. Hey, how you doing? Hello? Okay, guess not. How's everybody doing? Okay. Y'all doing good? Good Friday? Everybody, hopefully y'all are having a little fun. Folks keep pointing out my sleeve. I appreciate it. Once we get up our next guest, I'll show you what I got on my sleeve. I'm hoping to get my next one done soon, but I don't want to go overboard, and I got so much of a life ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to wait a little bit before I fill up both of my arms. Plus this sleeve alone, I mean, my ma, I'll tell you now, she was She was not happy. I feel like most folks with tattoos know that though. Like, you ever get that tattoo and you go home and you're like, "Ma, hey," and she's like, "Oh, you got like a little tattoo," and then you lift up the sleeve and it's entire, and it's like a. Anyway, I'll show you what I got in just a moment, but we're gonna try to get up for next guest here.
Hey, what's
Hello,
up?
did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I did.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna make this quick. So chat. So we got our baby bear here, right? We got, so it goes up to a forest. You got a massive bear up here. I ain't gonna show it right now because I want to, But we got a buck. For those of y'all who don't know, a buck is just like it's just a male deer. We got our forest. Got a little waterfall. We were supposed to have an eagle right around this spot. You can see I was saving the space, but I feel like we're probably gonna save that and get like my signature or something down there at some point in the future.
Yeah, I like your tats, dude. The tats are nice.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Took forever. I'll tell you what. That stuff. I mean, like that was like days underneath the needle. So anyway, let's talk about why did you vote for Donald Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump for the base reason of we have a lot of problems with a lot of illegal immigrants coming in here. I heard you talking to the guy before. I get what you're saying with the whole. A lot of the illegal immigrants coming across are working our farms and stuff. I understand where you're coming from with that. The biggest problem for me is when you look at the statistics of the crimes that are coming across from illegal immigrants is what I don't agree with.
All right, break that down for me.
So I think it was 11 to 12,000 people have come across that are crime committed people. Like they
do you know where that?
I'm nervous. I haven't done this before.
Chill out, man. You're good. You're good.
Like there's been a lot of people that are legalized, citizens from here, and they've been having a lot of problems with illegal immigrants coming over and causing a lot of crimes. You know what I'm saying?
So let me better understand this then, though, because we know for a fact, right, that you are statistically more, and I am statistically more likely to commit a crime as native citizens than an undocumented migrant would. We also know I have a source right here. This one's going to trigger some of the folks in the chat, CNN, but the source comes from the FBI. Violent crime dropped by more than 15% in the United States during the first 3 months of 2024. The new numbers show that violent crime from January to March dropped 15.2% compared to the same period in 2023, while unalives fell 26.4% and reported grapes decreased by 25.7%. So crime is down and dropping, but you're speaking on crime going up. So what's the source regarding that?
Let me see.
Because this comes from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Folks, if you haven't already, there's a follow button in the top left corner. Feel free to hit that follow button. Join a little family. We do these conversations every single day. Today we were talking about, Donald Trump's upcoming term in regards specifically to border security. That's the main topic, but we're talking about a few things here. If you had voted for Donald Trump, join the guest request and let's have a conversation about that. If you voted for Kamala Harris, please do hit that like button, hit the share button. Help us get to 300,000 likes. If you do want to support me, my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App are in my bio, but please feel no pressure to do that. We are going to wait for this guest here just to grab that source he was referring to. Lauren, thank you so much for the $25. That is beyond kind. Thank you so much, Lauren. Can we please get a few W. Laurens in the chat? Because that was immensely kind. Thank you so much, Lauren. That was really nice. All right, Keelan, are you good? Do you got that source? I'm not trying to rush you, man, but
sorry, Jocelyn Nungary. That's what I was talking about.
Dude, that sounds like a. Sorry, who's the source?
Oh no, I'm talking about the person that got murdered. It's on Jocelyn Nungary. She got murdered by it.
Okay, wait, but we're not referring to one case. We're referring to crime overall, right? You had said that crime was on an increase, but we know that crime is decreasing. So I was asking for the source that you had that suggested crime was on an increase.
Crime is decreasing for citizens, but illegal
undocumented migrants too. Crime is decreasing across the board, right?
Okay.
And you and I are statistically more likely to commit a crime than that of somebody who's undocumented.
Right. You know, I get you.
Because let's be real, we're kind of crazy. I mean, look at who we just elected to the presidency.
Well, the biggest, but with the whole, you know, the illegal immigrants coming, I mean, having 11 million people come across the fucking border. Sorry for the cussing. That's ridiculous. I mean, that is way too many. You know, I
hear you, man. Listen, I think what's important to recognize here, though, right, is that if you have a plan that's going to decrease, like, I agree that we have a border issue. However, if you have a plan to decrease border crossings, then like share that. The issue is that we got to recognize that, for example, some of the policies that President Biden put forth, some of the regulations he put forth when it comes to asylum, that led to a 77% decrease in border crossings between December of last year and August of this year. You look at border crossings. Let me get the numbers here. I wanted to keep this number because it's kind of shocking. Okay, so Border Patrol recorded 58,000 encounters with migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border in August of this year. That's according to Pew Research Center, and it also comes from government statistics. Again, that is the 77% decline. We know it was far higher than that months before. But this is lower than that of what we saw under Donald Trump. So, for example, in May of 2019, Donald Trump saw 132,000 border crossings. So 58,000 in August of this year, 132,000 back in 2019 in May, both summer months. So I think that we got to recognize that apparently, you know, Donald Trump did something like not so good here, that apparently Joe Biden did something right, you know?
Well, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of things that happened when Donald Trump was in office. We had a lot of the riots going on. Right. I mean, that's a lot of crime that can happen.
Wait, what's this got to do with that, though? This has that has nothing to do with border crossings.
You're talking about Trump, the whole crime. You're saying that.
No, I mean, I feel like I thought we had a consensus and then we moved past crime, right? Like, we know that crime is on a downtrend right now, so I don't think we got to harp on it. But then we're looking at border crossings, and we know that border crossings are down right now. In fact, I mean, even in August, 58,000 compared to 132,000 in May of 2019 under Donald Trump. Like, what are we?
Well, no,
so I guess, you know, and I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but I guess my question to you is, Donald Trump, right? He wants to repeal these policies put forth by Joe Biden that has led to that 77% decrease on crossings. So what is he going to replace it with? And what does that look like?
Oh, well, he wants more security on the border. He wants the wall built back up. You know, he wants to build that up. I mean, when Kamala had open borders, open borders.
No, we know that's not true. Come on, man.
Yeah,
you got to give credit where credit's due. We're going to do the same thing for Donald Trump.
She was vice president.
Yeah, but Joe Biden and her, they didn't have. I just gave you the numbers.
Well, no, but
dude, 58,000.
I didn't cut
right,
you
but
off.
you are lying, so I got to cut you off.
Not lying.
58,000 in August of this month, like this year, compared to a summer month under Donald Trump having well over 100,000. If you think that that's an open border under Kamala and Joe, then Donald Trump must have had a fucking party at the border, right? Because double that entered under him. So the logic's not making sense here. I don't think that Donald Trump had an open border. Neither do I think that this is an open border. But if you think that they have an open border, then he had to have too, because he had double the crossings for those summer months. So I think like you gotta give credit where credit's due here. You can't twist the facts. But you're talking about Donald Trump building the border wall. How is he going to do that, right? Like, he couldn't negotiate a deal to get it done the first time. He shut down the bipartisan border deal that would have provided funding for the construction on that wall. Like,
well, the biggest reason he couldn't get that was because he didn't have Senate, he didn't have House, he didn't have a lot of things. He couldn't get a lot of things crossed.
But where's the money coming from for the wall? Because Mexico's not paying for it. So who's going to pay for it?
He already said he wants to make Mexico pay for it.
They're not going to do it. They didn't do it the first time. It's not a we'll see. They're not going to pay for it. Like, it's not a we'll see. They already said they're not paying for it. So now who is going to pay for it?
Well, I don't know. Trump. He's got a lot of fucking money, dude.
Dude, he can't pay for his own debt. You think he's going to pay for...
Well, his debt, I mean, if you know anything about business, okay?
I don't want to talk about his debt. I want to know who's going to pay for the wall. Like... Again, you had Senator Mitch McConnell. He encouraged his caucus to pass the bipartisan border agreement. They were going to. Donald Trump urged them not to, and then they didn't. So you would have had the wall funded by the Appropriations Committee. Now you don't because Donald Trump blocked the bipartisan border deal. Speaking of, why would he do that?
Why would he do what? Sorry.
Why'd he block the bipartisan border agreement? It would have built the wall.
Yeah, that fact I don't have a lot of insight on, so I don't have the research for that, for the bipartisan deal.
That's okay. But I think we got to recognize, not that it doesn't matter now, right? I mean, the guy's going to be president, but he did block it for political purposes. So you can't really trust that when he says, I'm going to get Mexico to pay for the wall, and they say that they're not going to pay for it. Like, let's be honest about this. We're going to pay for the wall, man. Like, our taxes are going to go up on this thing. There's not a fund for the wall.
Well, he wants to put on tariffs on different countries to have our economy go up. I mean, but
that doesn't pay for the wall. I mean, tariffs also, to be clear, tariffs are a tax on the middle class, right? Our costs go up when Donald Trump implements tariffs.
If he puts,
that, right?
If he puts tariffs on the world, it goes up on the middle class.
Yeah. So, for example, and I got the stats here. For example, we know that Donald Trump's 25% tariff on agriculture led to a $230 billion tax hike on middle-class consumers through produce. You have a hypothetical here as well. Costs are expected to increase $4,000 per year for working families because of Donald Trump's tariffs. He implements a 60% tariff on China. They do the same back to us. Like, we do the same thing back and forth, right? It's a trade war. So we do it, then they put it back onto us.
Yeah,
so
I get
who
what
pays
you're
for that?
saying.
Cost go up. I mean, Trump has floated several, tariff ideas, right? Including one possibility, which is a hike on imported goods of between 200 and 2,000%. Businesses across America have already made very clear that, like, foreign countries ain't paying for that. Middle-class consumers are paying for that. You have Timothy Boyle, the chief executive of Columbia Sportswear. So for those who wear Columbia, which I do, which is why I wanted to keep this quote, he said that they're ready to set prices higher. I mean, that they're buying stuff today for delivery next fall, and that they're just going to deal with it and hike up costs on their product. So Columbia Sportswear is one of the many, many companies that are going to be increasing costs. And that's us picking up the price tag because because of Donald Trump's tariffs. So, like, costs are going to go up, man.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, he's going to be in office for 4 years. We'll see what happens with that. I doubt it.
It's not really like a hypothetical, though. It happened the first time, right? Donald Trump put that 15 to 25% tariff on agriculture. Then China put a tariff on soybean, on pork. That hurt North Carolina. That hurt Idaho. And this ended up leading to that $230 billion tax hike on middle-class consumers. We paid off the difference. Farmers, many of them went out of business, but those who didn't, they had to hike up costs on produce. We paid for that.
But the whole thing is, like, when you look at the economy when Trump was in office, a lot of people look when COVID hit. If you look before that, our economy was fucking booming. I mean, gas was only $1.90 a freaking gallon. I mean,
wait. Gas right pre-pandemic was well over $2. All right, and we got to recognize that if you are looking at the onset of Donald Trump's economy, for example, 2017 to mid 2018, you were feeling the effects of Barack Obama's economy, because Donald Trump hadn't implemented a policy by that point that would have made a mass difference when it comes to our economy. It wasn't until mid 2018 he started implementing those policies. You had the Jobs and Tax Act of 2017, though. I mean, that gave a tax cut to the middle class, but that also led to an $8 trillion debt. And we, again, middle-class Americans pay that off, not corporations. So we lost out. We didn't make out. We lost out.
Well, when you're talking about gas being over $2, that was in COVID times. That wasn't...
No, gas during COVID times was under $2. Gas during Donald Trump's term, pre-pandemic, was over $2. Gas hasn't been under $2 since the pandemic, and that's because nobody was on the road and the economy was closed. So rightfully so, costs on gas went down, right? Because we're not consuming oil. And then under Obama, the economy was different, right? So we know that in 2008, for example, gas was around $1 and some odd change.
Okay,
But
but
that's
then
just
when you're saying that, then basically when the economy was better and all this other stuff, that was under Trump's policy with Biden.
Wait, what? Can you repeat that?
Well, you're saying that everything that Trump did was under Obama's administration, like it was the things coming back. You know what I'm saying? The thing you just said.
No. So I'm explaining that under Barack Obama, you had gas that was under $2. And that is just because of the economy at that time. The global economy has changed. Things have become more expensive. There's also been global inflation. But throughout time and during Donald Trump's administration, gas was over $2. Gas was not under $2 until the pandemic hit. Then gas ranked below $2 once more. But that's not because Donald Trump had a policy in place that caused that. It's because nobody was consuming oil.
Well, do you have the facts right there? Can you look up
that is the fact. If you want to fact check me on it, feel free to do so. Right? Like I'm completely open to getting fact checked. Feel free to do so. Folks, if you haven't already, please do hit that follow button in the top left corner and join our little family. We'd love to have you as part of the community we got going on here. As well as, if you could hit that like button, help us get to 300,000 likes. That would be greatly appreciated. If you do want to support me, I appreciate that as well. My Venmo and PayPal are in my bio, but please don't feel, pressured to do so. We're waiting for Keelan right now to grab a source. I think what he's trying to do here, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like he's trying to give Donald Trump credit for gas prices having been under $2 during the pandemic, but we got to recognize that isn't because of Donald Trump. And if we're going to give Donald Trump credit for that, then you ought to credit him, for example, for the 9% inflation rate. I'm sorry, the 9% inflation rate. Actually, yes, that was accurate, 9% inflation rate, right? If you're going to give him credit for costs on gas going down because nobody's on the road, you ought to give him credit for the inflation rate going up as well. Both of those being pandemic causes and effects. So this just, right? Because I'm not blaming Donald Trump for the 9% inflation rate. That's the pandemic. So I'm not going to credit him for gas being under $2 either because that's the pandemic.
So, okay. So you said it was over $2. I looked at it. Yeah. The average price was over $2. But then when you go to...
and to be clear, that's not bad, right? That's like a good gas cost.
When you go to 2022, 2023, when Biden was in office, it goes up to $3.74 per gallon.
Right. Rightfully so.
Huge fucking incline.
No, right. And in part, again, that's because of the pandemic, right? When Donald Trump shut down the economy, you have nobody traveling to and from work. People are teleworking. People are quarantining from home. So less people are consuming oil. So gas prices go down. For example, in 20 to 2021, gas costs went below $2. I don't credit Donald Trump for that. The same way I'm not going to credit him for the 9% inflation rate, which is a high inflation rate. Neither of those are because of Donald Trump. Both of those are because of the pandemic. Then the economy reopens under Joe Biden. People get back to work. Now there's an consumption of oil, and we don't have enough oil to meet that demand. So costs on oil go up, and then you see a massive spike in gas. That's not because of Joe Biden. But then Joe Biden did take action by releasing some of our oil reserve, and that brought costs on oil back down. Did that make sense?
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's just when gas is $1.98 a gallon under Trump, and then it goes almost $5 Biden-Harris. It's just...
But that is the pandemic. The same way, again, like you have the inflation rate under Donald Trump, it reached upwards of 9%, but then it dropped under Joe Biden back down to 2.1%. I'm not crediting Joe Biden for a massive dip in that inflation of 9 to 2. That's because of the pandemic. And I'm not going to blame Donald Trump for the 9% inflation rate. So right, you're giving credit to Donald Trump for a low gas cost, even though that was because of the pandemic. And then you're blaming Joe Biden for having that gas cost increase when that was supply and demand focused. That would be the same thing as me saying Donald Trump caused a 9% inflation rate and Joe Biden dropped it back down to 2%. We're both wrong in that sense. So again, the pandemic led to both these instances. But then talking on inflation, let's recognize that the inflation rate today is 2.1%. Under Donald Trump, it had reached 2.4%. So if the inflation rate today is lower than that of what it was under Donald Trump, can you kind of explain to me why costs at the grocery store, for example, are still high? And what is Donald Trump's plan as president to decrease those costs at the grocery store?
To decrease those costs?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I can't remember exactly. Let me look it up real quick.
Somebody just commented that inflation reached 20%. Guys, that's not true. We've never had 20% inflation. Inflation reached 14% in 1980, and that is the highest inflation we have ever had. So if somebody's telling you that inflation has ever reached 20%, that's just not true. That is very much not true. The highest you've ever had was 14% in 1980. Sometimes you really got to just go by facts and not feelings, folks. Massive thank you to Megan for the $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love. Thank you, Megan, for the $10 on Venmo. I appreciate it. Keelan, are you back with that response?
I hate that when I'm on Google or something and I'm looking something up real quick to try to find it, I can't talk to you. It's so annoying.
Listen, I think we got to recognize here that Donald Trump doesn't actually have a policy to tackle price gouging. And price gouging is what is responsible for those double-digit percentiles at the grocery store. You know, Kroger, for example, just a couple months ago, their CEO came forward and admitted to having price gouged. PepsiCo is another example. PepsiCo owns Gatorade. They hiked up the cost on Gatorade, shrunk the size. So what is Donald Trump's plan to regulate these companies? And it's a trick question. He doesn't have a plan to regulate these companies. So now how are you going to cut down the cost at the grocery store, though, if you don't have a plan to hold corporations accountable for price gouging? Because it's not based off of inflation, right? Inflation, and we need to come up with a separate term for this. And we had greedflation, but that didn't pick up. It's just not as sketchy as inflation. This isn't inflation, though. Inflation is down to 2.1%. This is price gouging. So how are you going to combat price gouging? Trump has no plan to do so. So how is he going to lower costs at the grocery store if he doesn't want to combat price gouging and inflation's already low? I mean, he could decrease inflation all he wants. That's not going to change the cost at the grocery store because now inflation and grocery costs have nothing to do with each other. That's not how it used to be, but that's how it is now.
Right. This is the one thing I do like, though, like, you know, having two people just talk, you know, because the way the radical left and the radical right, they fucking hate each other, and it causes all this freaking crazy shit, man. Like, a lot of people can't just sit here and talk like this. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, we're not on a date. I just need I just need what that policy is that Donald Trump's going to implement to cut costs at the grocery store, right? Like, the reason, for example, that middle class parents voted for Donald Trump at a higher rate than that of Kamala is because they saw higher costs at the grocery store. And so they said, well, I associate that with Joe Biden. And I can completely understand that. It wasn't because of Joe Biden. The inflation rate is 2.1%. That's lower than it was under Trump. But an average American, they're not going to recognize that because not everybody has a grasp on the economy in that sense. You see higher costs, you associate that with the president. Rightfully so. It's wrong, but I still get why you would. Now, Donald Trump is saying, okay, these people are trusting me to cut their costs at the grocery store. He can cut inflation all he wants. It won't change anything at the grocery store because they're not, they don't have any, you know, they don't cross paths anymore. So what is Donald Trump going to do to cut those costs at the grocery store? Like, does he have a plan? And if not, then where do we go from here? Because parents need to be able to put food into the mouths of their children. And if Donald Trump isn't going to accomplish that for them, then he effectively misled them into voting for him. Right? Mothers are looking to feed their children. How is Donald Trump going to do that?
Right. Like you said, he doesn't have a crazy plan. But, I mean, whatever she was doing, whatever those two were doing was not the right move either. So, I mean, there's a reason everybody voted for him.
Well, taking a step back here, it's not what they were doing. It's what the Congress was doing. So Kamala, for example, said, I have a plan to ban price gouging. We're going to ban that practice. Then you have to price gouge on par with inflation. Inflation is 2.1%. You can jack up your costs 2.1%, but not the 25% that they've been doing. Then you have Congress, like House Republicans, who blocked that policy and said, no, we're not gonna do this. But instead of blaming House Republicans, people gave them a Republican Senate. Pardon me. So now, again, parents have been misled. They misunderstood what was happening. They voted for Donald Trump, and you're saying he has no plan to put food onto the table for them. Listen, I'm willing to give Donald Trump a chance if he's going to help these parents feed their kids, but he doesn't have a plan to do so. So, like, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, he did it the last time he was in office. Everything was cheaper.
But sir, dude, this is pre-pandemic, right? We understand that companies weren't price gouging to this extent then. They began price gouging after Donald Trump implemented that 14% corporation tax cut that led to the $8 trillion debt. And during the pandemic, because the economy was closed, and so they had the opportunity to do so. Anyhow, folks, I know that you want me to take my inhaler, but if I take the inhaler, I risk that the asthma gets worse. Those who have asthma get it. So I'm going to try to hold off on the inhaler. I apologize for the cough.
Cough a lot more.
Yep. Because I already took it like a couple hours ago. So I'm like, I'm going to...
It has that, so.
Anyway, so help me better understand that. How does Donald Trump's economic policy benefit middle-class Americans? Like, what is it going to do for them? Because we know right off the bat, for example, the 60% tariff on China and the 20% tariff worldwide is going to lead to a $3 trillion debt. And that's according to Penn Wharton economists. It'll also lead to upwards... I don't really see it being upwards. I would say between 2,500 and 4,000 is the consensus. So I wouldn't say upwards of 4,000. I retract that. Some are saying upwards. I retract that. I don't know. I trust those economists. 2,500 to 4,000 coming out of the pockets of middle-class consumers because of Donald Trump's tariffs. So we know that his tariffs are going to take money from us. How are you going to put money into the pockets of middle-class consumers and middle-class Americans at a higher extent than that of what the tariffs are going to take for them?
You said the tariff. You were talking about. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
There's also like discrepancies here, right? I mean, you can look at, for example, Donald Trump says he wants to replace the income tax with tariffs, and like that sounds good on paper because he's just saying he's going to cut the income tax. But he's going to replace it with tariffs. And that's the part he didn't tell people. In recent years, and I got the info here, the U.S. federal government has raised roughly $4.9 trillion in total revenue annually. Just in 2023 alone, that's $4.9 trillion. That is from income tax. So if you cut that and replace it with tariffs, which, I mean, tariffs, in 2023, tariffs brought $90 billion. So the income tax gave us 4.9 trillion in 2023. Tariffs gave us 90 billion. That is like a massive, massive discrepancy. And then if you're going to cut the income tax and replace it with tariffs, you're going to be effectively cutting Social Security because income tax pays for Social Security. So Donald Trump is advocating for cutting Social Security. I'll say it again for anybody who didn't keep track on that in the chat. I know, Keelan, that you got it. To folks in the chat, I just figured this out right now going through the policy, now that I had this realization. So Donald Trump, for example, in 2023, there was $4.9 trillion in total revenue from income tax. He's going to cut the income tax and replace it with tariffs. Tariffs gave us $90 billion worth of revenue in 2023. So $90 billion from tariffs, $4.9 trillion from the income tax. If you cut the income tax, you can increase tariffs all you want. You can't increase tariffs up to $4.9 trillion without an economic catastrophe for consumers. You can even get it up to $1 trillion without hiking up costs on consumers well over 1,000%. He's not going to do that. So he would be effectively cutting Social Security then, because Social Security is paid for by the income tax. Holy shit. Keelan, you voted for that.
Yeah, I did. He's not cutting Social Security.
I just explained exactly how he would and why he would need to. If he cuts the income tax and replaces it with tariffs, that's what he said he would do, he can't make up the revenue lost with the money gained from tariffs. Tariffs give 90 billion,
Social Security is a
4.2
separate
trillion
tax.
from income tax. But income tax pays for Social Security. So if Social Security loses income tax as a source of revenue and they replace that with tariffs, you're going from $4.2 billion funneled into Social Security to 90 billion being funneled into Social Security. That's 4.2 trillion to 90 billion. That's a massive cut to Social Security. So what do you do from there? Where do you go from there? And thank you for the galaxy.
Where do you go from there?
Right. What do you do now? I mean, trillion is bigger than billion. For those of you in the chat who don't know, again, you have $4.2 trillion that he's going to cut in income tax, and he's going to replace it with the 90 billion in tariffs. He could hike up that 90 billion as far as he wants, but that's going to continue. Every time he hikes up that tariff, it's going to increase your cost at the grocery store, right? Is he going to hike it up to make up the difference of the $4.2 trillion? And if so, that would equate to thousands of dollars coming out of your pocket per month at the grocery store. So I can't imagine he would ever do that, right? That's unreasonable. But then that means he would have to take from Social Security to accomplish this. So Social Security would be cut by about $4.1 trillion.
He didn't do that the last time, though, and he put tariffs
But that
on
wasn't
it.
his plan last time. This is his plan this time.
It didn't screw up the It didn't screw up the Social Security.
To be clear, he wasn't running on replacing the income tax with tariffs last time. He's doing that this time.
Well, he's just trying to cut tips tax and overtime taxes.
Okay, but for people who are collecting Social Security, they don't give a crap about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, right? Because they're not making that. They're relying on Social Security. If you're going to cut their Social Security, how do you make that up? What's the replacement? Right? What do you do now?
Have to look into that. Because you just learned that too.
Well, I knew that he was going to cut Social Security. I didn't recognize by this much. I mean, $4.1 trillion, quite literally. I mean, that is not. And to make up the difference in tariffs, either consumers are going to have to pay thousands of dollars on top of their grocery costs every month so that those who are collecting Social Security can continue to do so, or those who are collecting Social Security are going to receive a massive cut to their Social Security so those paying groceries don't have to pay more. Somebody's going to lose out here. It's either the middle class who are paying for their children's groceries, or it's those collecting Social Security. Somebody's getting a hike and a cut. Like, it's got to be one or the other. So who's it going to be? Who are you screwing over? Are you screwing over those who are collecting Social Security by cutting it? Or are you screwing over the middle class by hiking up their costs at the grocery store? I mean, this is your candidate, man. This is his policy. So what are you going to... Who are you fucking over here? I apologize for the curse, but, you know.
Yeah, that's a fuck situation. I didn't even notice it.
My guy, you voted for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I just don't see how it's going to fuck the Social Security up.
I just explained. What did I not explain properly? Like, how can I better explain this? Because again, it's $4.9 trillion in total revenue annually from the income tax feeding into Social Security. Okay, if you cut the income tax and replace it with tariffs, tariffs only bring about 90 billion. 90 billion compared to the 4.9 trillion is pennies. So you have to cut Social Security because the income tax pays for Social Security. That's Social Security relies on it. So you can either cut Social Security or you can make up the difference by hiking up those tariffs to equate to that of the 4.9 trillion lost. But that would lead to thousands coming out of everybody's pockets per month in the middle class on groceries.
The thing that's messing me up is Social Security is a completely different tax than income tax.
Social Security relies on income tax. So income tax feeds into Social Security.
Okay, but that's not where...
Like Social Security taxes bring in 1.2 trillion, right, annually. the income tax adds another 4.9 trillion annually. So the Social Security tax 1.2 trillion annually. Income tax adds another 4.2 trillion annually. If you cut the income tax, you're left with the 1.2 trillion Social Security tax. But then again, you just cut Social Security by 4 times.
The federal income tax and income tax is taxed separately. A lot of the federal income tax goes to Social Security. The income tax doesn't do as much as you're thinking.
No, the income tax annually, according to the U.S. federal revenue, that is the federal government, $4.9 trillion comes from income tax and is added into Social Security. Social Security tax adds $1.2 trillion to Social Security. If you cut the income tax, you're left with $1.2 trillion. Donald Trump said, okay, but then I will replace it with tariffs. Tariffs only add $90 billion. So $90 billion compared to the $4.9 trillion lost is pennies. You're going to either have to hike up tariffs to make up the difference. And at that rate, Donald Trump would not do this, because if he did, it would equate to thousands of dollars coming out of the pockets of voters. He ain't going to do that. So then he would cut Social Security. Social Security would just be receiving $4.9 trillion less. Technically $4.8 trillion less, because he would take the $90 billion from the tariffs and replace. So your candidate, our next president, would cut Social Security by $4.8 trillion. Like, and how are you gonna, like now what? Now what? People rely on Social Security. Yeah. And these are like the numbers. I'm not like bending anything. These are just the straightforward numbers, right? We're all doing the math in the chat together. Did anybody in the chat not follow what I had said? Because I can repeat. I can further explain this to anybody in the chat. Did all of y'all follow with it? Like, again, these are the numbers right from the U.S. Federal Reserve and revenue. This is, you can't, like, the numbers are the numbers. They're the same numbers from Trump's administration too. Okay, some people want me to explain it again. So let me explain it again to anybody just listening in. Sorry, Keelan, I hope you don't mind. Again, Donald Trump says he wants to replace the income tax with tariffs. Okay, but the income tax adds $4.9 trillion to Social Security. A Social Security tax that we have adds $1.2 trillion to Social Security. If you replace the income tax with tariffs, you're only adding $90 billion to Social Security in comparison to $4.9 trillion. So that's pennies in comparison. Now, that means that Social Security would either receive a $4.8 trillion cut, or tariffs would have to be increased to the equate of that 4.9 trillion. Donald Trump, while I think he's an awful businessman, is a good enough businessman to know that hiking up tariffs to that equate to equate to that 4.8 trillion would not be worth it. That would cause a global economic catastrophe for middle class consumers. So he would just cut from Social Security the 4.8 trillion.
All right, so
now what do elderly people do who rely on Social Security? Where do they go from there? And again, folks, anybody who says that this is false information, feel free to Google it. These are the numbers. The numbers don't change.
You're saying that he's completely getting rid of income tax. He just wants to cut it down a little bit.
No, he says he wants to cut income tax out of the equation and replace it with tariffs. He's not saying he's going to cut it a little bit. He's saying he's getting rid of it, like gone. The same way that some school boards get rid of property tax and some states don't rely on property tax. He's saying he wants to get rid of income tax. So now what are you going to, like, what's your message to those who rely on Social Security who are in this chat as we speak? Like, what's your message to them? Like you had said yourself, well, he's going to cut the overtime tax and the tax, no tax on tips. And like, that's fine and dandy, but those relying on Social Security don't benefit from that. They're not working. They already worked their entire life to pay for the Social Security that Donald Trump would cut. How is that fair?
I mean, a lot of older people and stuff that are on Social Security have 401k as well.
Okay, but that's still not fair. You're telling them to rely on something else when they, as their right, paid for Social Security. Like, that's not fair. Like, if you want to go cut my Social Security, and they probably will, I'm a young guy, I'll figure out a way to survive down the road. These people, you can't just cut something that they're relying on today
but he's not cutting it out completely.
But he's going to cut it by $4.8 trillion. That's a lot. Right?
I don't know, dude. I mean,
you can also, to be clear, right? 80% of House Republicans right now, they released a budget and it cuts Medicare and it also cuts Social Security. I got the numbers here. The budget that they introduced calls for over $1.5 trillion in cuts to Social Security. This is on top of the $4.2 trillion from Donald Trump's plan and cuts. It includes an increase in the retirement age to 69%, and it cuts disability benefits. It cuts Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and the Children's Health Insurance Program by $4.5 trillion over 10 years. It raises Medicare costs for seniors by taking away from Medicare's authority to negotiate prescription drug costs. It repeals the $35 insulin cap and the $2,000 out-of-pocket cap in the Inflation Reduction Act. 80% of House Republicans support this. So they want to cut Social Security by $1.5 trillion. Donald Trump wants to cut it by $4.8 trillion. What are you leaving for those who are relying on Social Security as we speak? What sucks about this, right, is that I'm not even talking about like a hypothetical. Donald Trump is going to be president, right? So he's going to do this, which is why we need answers on this stuff and why I'm asking you, because this isn't a hypothetical. He's going to have a Republican House, Senate, and he's going to have the presidency. He's going to accomplish this. So what is your message to those who rely on Social Security, right? The proof is that the House Republican policy, this is their budget, right? It's in their budget. And then again, the stats I'm using are from the U.S. Federal Reserve and revenue. So these are government stats, and Republicans put it in their own budget that they want to cut an additional 1.5 to, like they want to cut an additional 1.5 out of Social Security on top of the 4.8 that Donald Trump wants to cut. So like, we know that he's going to cut it. We know that they're going to cut it. So what's your message to those who are relying on Social Security? You said, well, they're collecting 401ks as well. That's not going to cut it for them, right? You can't just say, oh, okay, well, your Social Security got cut. Screw you, go rely on your 401ks. Like, they paid into Social Security. They're owed that. Like, they deserve that. That's their right. That's not even an entitlement. They pay. That's their money. You'd be stealing from them.
Okay, but where are you getting this information from?
I just told you.
I didn't.
U.S. Federal Reserve and revenue is where the stats are coming from. The additional stats, like for example, the $90 billion tariff revenue comes from the U.S. Treasury Department. And then for the House Republicans' budget, that is their budget. Like, you just look up their budget. This is all in their budget. This is what they put forth.
No, I'm saying where are you getting the information of what Trump wants to do? Are you looking at Project 2025?
No, this is his tax plan.
I was going to say he doesn't want
Correct.
that.
This is Agenda 47. This is his tax plan.
Okay.
I understand the discrepancies between Project 2025 and Donald Trump's Agenda 47. I know that there are cross paths as well. Like, he wants to reclassify federal workers. That is in both plans. This is in his plan, though. The tax plan here, the cut income tax replaced with tariffs, that is Agenda 47. So what is your message to those who are relying on Social Security right now, knowing that Donald Trump is advocating to cut their Social Security, as are 80% of House Republicans, and he has a majority in the House and Senate now to do that?
I don't know.
Dude, but now they're fucked, right? Like, they're fucked. That's the message. Hey, if you're collecting Social Security, you're fucked. Like, that's the message, basically, right?
I don't.
Like, if you're collecting Social Security right now, you're about to receive a massive cut to your Social Security by well over 5 times, according to this plan put forth by Donald Trump and House Republicans. So it's like, the message to those collecting is, hey guys, you're fucked. Sorry.
Red wave, baby.
Dude, this is what you voted for, man.
I know. I'm happy.
You're happy, but you're not collecting Social Security. Those who are collecting Social Security aren't going to be happy.
I don't see that it's going to cut Social Security.
I explained exactly why he would have to.
Explaining it, but there's no. You're not seeing it happen yet. I mean, you're just going to have to.
Because he's not the president yet.
Yeah, I know he's not. So we'll just have to see in the next 4 years. I don't see him cutting. I don't see him cutting Social Security.
He said he wants to, man.
People saying that I don't care about Social Security. My parents are disabled. I do care.
Okay, but then you should care more about this. I mean, you should care, for example, with House Republicans putting forth the plan that calls for $1.5 trillion in cuts to Social Security, including an increase in the retirement age of 69 and cutting disability benefits. You said that they receive disability. Okay, this would also affect some of my family members too. We're in the same boat on that. They would both be losing those disability benefits. You voted for that. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And that's in the House Republicans' budget for this year, right? That's not even a hypothetical. That's their current budget, and they're going to have the House majority and the Senate majority to pass it.
My parents,
so, it's not a hypothetical. Man, if you're collecting Social Security, guys, I'm really sorry. Democrats should have fought harder for you. We should have done more. Because and I mean this so sincerely, you guys are so screwed. Like, between Donald Trump's plan here and the House Republican budget, I am really sorry, guys. Like, that sucks. That really sucks. That is $4.8 trillion in cuts in the income to tariff ratio that's coming out of Social Security, and an additional $1.5 trillion in cuts and the loss of disability benefits in the House Republican budget. Like, you guys are so screwed if you're collecting Social Security, and my heart is breaking reading over this plan because there is absolutely nothing that Democrats can do for you now. Like, these next 2 years, there is not a single thing that can be done about this. They will pass this plan. They can pass this plan. They'll have the votes to pass this plan. There is nothing that Democrats can do for you to help you. Not a single thing.
He wants to get rid of taxes on Social Security too, so I don't see him getting rid of it.
Okay, if he wants to get rid of a Social Security tax too, then you are cutting Social Security in its entirety.
If you're taking taxes out of the Social Security money you get, that's not getting rid of Social Security.
Social Security is taxes. The Social Security fund is all taxes at this point. There is no separate fund on Social Security. Numerous administrations have been pulling out of it for decades when they shouldn't have been, but they did. There's no fund there. It's all taxes. To be clear, we're not pulling from a fund anymore. We used to. That fund doesn't exist anymore. We are now making up the difference in our taxes. So, for example, I am paying in my taxes for the Social Security of somebody else that is currently collecting it. But that's only because the money that they already paid into it was stolen by Bush's administration or Clinton's administration. Like, do we understand that? So if you cut taxes for me by cutting the Social Security and income tax, fine and dandy with me, right? Now I'll be paying less, but whoever just is collecting Social Security as we speak will no longer be receiving, they won't be receiving my money anymore to pay for their Social Security. There's no fund to back that up. Does that make sense?
No, I get you.
So what is your message now? What is your plan for those who are collecting Social Security? You can't say they're not going to do it. They have the House, Senate, and the presidency. They can absolutely do this, and they want to do this. And it's in the Republicans' House budget for this term. I mean, it's not a hypothetical, man. This is in their budget. Like, are you happy with your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you cut mommy and daddy's disability benefits.
Mommy and daddy voted for him too.
And mommy and daddy didn't know better.
I don't see him getting rid of Social Security. I mean,
you keep saying you don't think he's going to do it. He's saying he's going to do it. House Republicans put it in their budget to get rid of it. This isn't a hypothetical, man. It's not we think he's going to or not. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. It's looking like a Pokemon. What is that thing? Thank you so much for the Phoenix. Was that a Pokemon? Was that a straight up Pokemon? That was so pretty. Caught me totally off guard. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate the Phoenix in the chat. That was beyond kind. Thank you so much. Anyhow, Keelan, are you running? Where'd you go, man?
I'm good. Sorry, dude.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the economy here. Again, you're basically effectively saying to the middle class, Donald Trump is effectively saying to the middle class here. Now that I understand the policy as the whole, Donald Trump is saying to the middle class, I'm going to increase your taxes. However, even though you'll be paying more out of pocket due to tariffs. For example, the 15 to 25% tariff on agriculture that led to a $230 billion tax hike. He's going to make up that difference by cutting Social Security taxes, income taxes, overtime taxes. So I'll get money back, not to the same extent of what I'm going to lose out of pocket, but it will make up the difference to a massive extent. But to do that, he's going to be cutting from Social Security so that I don't lose money. So anybody collecting Social Security loses it. So how are you going to make the difference here? Are you going to hike up costs on me? Or are you going to hike up costs on those who are collecting Social Security? Who's losing out? Somebody has to get fucked. Who's it going to be?
The other countries.
No, that's not how a tariff works. So who's getting screwed? Is it me or is it your parents?
It's you, dude.
So me and any middle class American like me are going to end up losing money, you're saying then.
Oh my God.
But I'm sorry to break it to you. The reality is it's actually your mom and dad. Because Donald Trump's not going to raise costs on me. He wants my vote in the future for JD Vance or whatever. So he's going to raise costs on your parents who are older, less likely to vote, or less likely to be around to vote, which is where the actual logic comes in. And that's god awful. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about this economic package here. Can you tell me in what sense is Donald Trump going to offer some sort of economic growth or stimulus for middle class consumers besides stripping away from Social Security to cut our taxes?
Well, he's going to bring the middle class back. We don't have a middle class right now.
Dude, I'm middle class. What are you talking about?
How much do you make a year?
What are you?
How much do you make a year?
What do you consider yourself?
Poor? Lower class?
And you voted for Trump?
Yeah.
That probably wasn't a good idea. I'm gonna be so real with you. That probably wasn't a good idea.
Here, one second.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Dude, like chat. Are you middle class in the chat? Are you all middle class in the chat? Like, we understand that Donald Trump doesn't have a tax cut for lower class Americans. So if you are lower class, he's screwing you over first and foremost. So Keelan, you just said that you're lower class. Thank you, Hoodie, for the Galaxy. Keelan, you just said that you're lower class, but that you're voting, or that you had voted for Donald Trump. Why did you vote for Donald Trump again? Now it's not even making sense.
Well, middle class right now, you have to make over $140,000 a year.
That's not true. Okay, that's not true. Let's take a step back. First and foremost, I want to discuss again what we spoke about. We spoke on, and again, for anybody curious, the policy I'm using comes from House Republicans. The policy I'm using comes from the House Republican budget for this year. So this isn't a hypothetical. This is what they want. And the stats come from the U.S. Federal Reserve and revenue. So these are government stats backed by House Republicans. Okay. So in recent years, the U.S. federal government has raised about $4.9 trillion in total revenue annually from income tax. Donald Trump says he wants to cut the income tax out. So that $4.9 trillion is gone. That $4.9 trillion was used for Social Security. So Social Security just got cut by $4.9 trillion. He says he's going to replace it, though, with tariffs. Tariffs only add $9 billion. $9 billion compared to the $4.9 trillion is pennies. And that means he's going to have to either hike up tariffs, and he won't do that, to the equate of $4.9 trillion. That would be thousands of dollars on groceries per month. And he's just not going to do that. He's going to hike up tariffs, but not to this extent, to make up the difference on the loss of Social Security. So Social Security is going to lose $4.9 trillion. And he wants to cut the Social Security tax, which cuts $1.2 trillion. Now, you might be thinking, well, can't people just pull from the Social Security fund? That doesn't exist anymore. There is no Social Security fund. Social Security, we pay into it and it's immediately taken back out. Because the money that you paid into it, for anybody collecting Social Security, the money you paid into it was taken out by administrations decades ago. So Bush, Clinton, they took that money. It's no longer there. Okay, so again, I pay into it. And if you're collecting Social Security, you're taking my money to cover the money that you no longer have because the government stole from you. Trump is saying we're going to cut my taxes so I don't have to pay for your Social Security, but that's effectively stealing money from you. And that means you're going to be losing Social Security in its entirety, especially when paired with the $1.5 trillion that House Republicans want to take out in their annual budget. So he's going to take out $4.9 trillion, then an additional $1.2 trillion. House Republicans are going to take out $1.5 trillion. This is according to their budget. So then there's nothing left for you. And then additionally, you look at the House Republican budget, they want to increase the retirement age to 69 and cut disability benefits. So this is a massive issue. And Donald Trump doesn't actually have a solution to solve it. And Keelan doesn't have an answer to you to solve it. So that's what we're discussing. So then I guess, Keelan, my question to you is, what are you going to do to support those who are collecting Social Security right now, who might be listening in? What are they going to get out of this besides getting screwed over in their Social Security? What is the win for them? Like, what do they get?
I don't know. Probably just going to walk my fish.
Sounds about right.
Save my fish from drowning.
Thank you, Hoodie, for the galaxy. I appreciate the love. So are you done? You give up?
Am I done?
You give up? Recognize that your vote just screwed over a lot of Americans?
No, I don't give up, and I don't recognize that it screwed a lot of million.
Okay, then why are you happy to have screwed over that many Americans? Is that why you voted for Donald Trump? Did you have a thing? Like, you said yourself that your parents collect disability benefits from Social Security. House Republicans are cutting that. So they're losing out. So obviously you didn't vote in favor of your parents. So then why did you vote for Donald Trump? What was the reason?
Because Trump's daddy. Daddy Trump.
So you give up, man. If we were having a good conversation, but you're apparently so overwhelmed with having voted against your own interests, not really your interests, the interests of your parents and the interests of those collecting Social Security, that you're just choosing to spew nonsense now. We were having such a good conversation. What happened, man?
Well, because I mean, it's hard. You keep on screwing with my words and messing everything up.
I haven't screwed with your words once. What are you talking about, man? I've been so respectful. I'm just going through the stats and stuff.
Well, a lot of it's just assumptions, though.
It's not assumptions. This is the House Republicans' budget. This is Donald Trump's policy. It's on his website. And the stats are coming from the U.S. Federal Reserve. Like, I'm not even giving you a media source. I'm not like, oh, CNN says this or Fox News says this. This is their budget. This is his plan. And these are the stats from the government. So it's not an assumption.
Yeah.
Can anybody else from the chat, do we have any folks who voted for Donald Trump who would be willing to have this conversation? Because I think Keelan's given up here. I think he got checkmated. Keelan, you have a good one.
Trump daddy.
All right. That ain't normal behavior. Michael, thank you so much for the $25 on Venmo. That is beyond kind. Thank you so much. Folks, if you like what you're hearing today, if you're maybe getting a little bit of an education out of this stuff, feel free to support me. I do this every day. My Venmo and PayPal, those are in my bio, and I greatly appreciate it. However, if you do rely on Social Security, I do not recommend pitching in and supporting me, because what we just learned from this policy is that you will be receiving a Social Security cut. So please don't support me if you are relying on Social Security. Please don't support me. Hi, how you doing?
Good. Hey, why don't you get a real fucking job and stop crying already? Take that fucking L and eat it already. Fucking bum. Go get a real fucking job. T-Dog 2024, bitch. Fuck you. Take that faggot ass hat off too, pussy.
All right, so we got somebody up here who just and he ran away. Anyway, reparations. Venmo, PayPal. I ain't even playing on this live. I don't even care. Like, he really thought he ate with that one. He just came up here with his voice that didn't even drop yet and started crying about some nonsense, saying he voted for Donald Trump and yet didn't even sound like an adult. Let's get this right. So you come up here spewing this nonsense, laughing in the face of people that you just ripped off and defrauded, and you're going to sit there spewing slurs. Hey, everybody, this is what we have to look forward to over these next 4 years. Yep. It's going to be a long 4 years. But oh yes, Trumpers, please keep telling us how you're unifying the country behind Donald Trump. Did that sound unifying? Was that right there what he just said? Was that unifying? Right. Okay. This is why half of the country hates you. Like, and they're justified to hate you, you know? Like, half the country is absolutely justified to hate your party and you because you cut their benefits, you cut their social security, and then you spit in their face as you do it. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, let's try to get up our next guest. Again, if you voted for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation. Hey, Brandy, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing all right. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, how does it feel to lose?
Are you going to do the same thing that guy Sparky just did? Can you calm down?
You talked all that talk.
Listen, calm down. Y'all take your flowers, you do you. We're here to have a conversation. If you don't want to do that, then you can leave. Like, act like an adult, right?
How does it feel to lose, though?
Sky, thank you so much for the $20. Sky says, I'm sorry that you have to deal with MAGA. He's talking about you, Brandy. Brandy, thank you for being so god-awful. It's because of you I just got $20. Let's get up our next guest here. Folks, again, if you are looking to have a conversation, come on up. If you voted for Donald Trump, if you're coming up here to cry, then leave. I mean, literally, we have Brandy coming up here to spit in my face, but the reality is that her body is now my choice, right? Just like Nick Fuentes said, that the body of women is now the choice of men. Y'all heard that video, actually, right? Hold on, let me play it for you. She's coming up here to laugh at me saying, how is it to lose, blah, blah, blah. Who lost out here? Because it apparently I actually won, right? Apparently you, women, lost out, right? Here's the video to Brandy. Let me get the Nick Fuentes video for you. Gwen, I'll be right with you. I apologize. Here, just give me 1 sec. She really came up here and thought she ate. She was like, how's it feel to lose? Oh, ma'am, apparently I won. All right.
Feel when you're totally not pressed. The feel when we control your bodies. Hey, bitch, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice. And men, women again. Men win again. There will never...
Okay, so Brandy, when you come up and say to a guy, you lost, Trump won, and that means that I, a woman, won. Let me make very clear, according to the men in your party, I won. You lost. Isn't that god-awful? Anyway, Gwen, hi.
Hi.
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
Well, so you just heard that right there. How does that make you feel? That is from your Republican Party. That video has gone massively viral, and men are making a movement of supporting that rhetoric on the right wing. How does that make you feel?
I mean, that's just one idiot. That's not just...
No, it ain't one.
Yeah,
it ain't one, man.
That should be the whole...
That is Twitter. That is all of Twitter right now.
Yeah, I mean, just like there's a lot of bad apples with the Kamala Harris people and all that stuff.
Ma'am, that ain't a bad apple. You don't understand.
I mean, you're just going to fight with me about it, but,
I ain't fighting with you about it. I'm just letting you know. Anyway, but can you tell me a little bit about why Donald Trump wants to cut Social Security, and what are you going to do to make up the difference for those who are currently collecting?
I mean...
She just ran away. Moo. Oh, let me fix my bell. Moo. We got a runner. Yeehaw, we got a runner. That was ridiculous. I can't believe she just ran away. Let's get up our next guest, folks. If you had voted for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. Ashley, thank you so much for the $10 on PayPal. That is beyond kind. Thank you so much. And oh my gosh. Whoa. Ryan, Janera, Tammy, thank you so much for the love. And Charles, holy cow. Can we please get like 1,000 Charles in the chat? I mean, I don't even know what to say. Charles, thank you for the $100. That was, what the fudge? Thank you so much. I said fudge. No coin is going in the swear jar. Keeping the coin. Thank you so much, Charles, for the love. That is beyond kind. So, Justin, I hope that you can answer this question here. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
I didn't vote, but I lean
Why
towards
did you
Donald
not
Trump.
vote?
I don't think either was worth my vote.
Okay, so you're the protest voter that gave us Donald Trump. So you effectively voted for Donald Trump. So now can you tell me, with that ignorance,
I'm happy.
what is,
I prefer
with
that he
that
won,
ignorance, why did you not vote? Why did you protest vote? Break that down.
I prefer that he won, but like I already said.
So why did you protest vote?
Like I was saying, I don't think either deserved my vote.
Because?
Well, Kamala couldn't speak in front of people for one.
Okay, this is nonsense. Let's move on.
No.
Listen, put the cup down. I get it's Friday night, but you got to wait until like 8 o'clock to, everybody, I hope that y'all have whether what side of the hour you're on, I hope that you have a good night and have a good drink tonight. But like, gosh, it's a little early to be doing all that right now. Put the cup down. Put the cup down. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're drinking right now, put that cup down. Give it another hour. Danny, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Johnny?
Doing good. Did you vote for Trump?
I'm just like the other guy. I did not vote either.
Danny, dude. Why?
So, first of all, I want to say thank you for what you do. I mean, I've seen you, Parker Dean, do your thing. I've seen Charlie Kirk do his thing. But first and foremost,
he smiles weird. Y'all ever notice his smile? Like,
I'm not going to deny you. Yeah,
he does the.
But
y'all know that Charlie Kirk smile. Greatest flex. All right, quick thing. Greatest flex. I go to a Eagles tailgate the other day. Robert De Niro's there. I meet Robert De Niro. He says I have a nice smile. So to all of you Trumpers who like to make fun of my smile, doesn't matter. Because De Niro says I have a good smile. Just saying. All right, let's get back into it. So Danny, tell me again. What is the reason as to why you did not vote?
So I did not vote because in a morally standpoint, none of them fit my criteria.
In what sense of morals? Are you like, is it Palestine? Is that what it is?
No. So look, and I will be honest with you before you.
Did you vote based off of Palestine? Is that what it is?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so then what was the criteria here? Are you looking for the perfect candidate? Because you're never going to get that.
And I'm like, give me 1 second. Can you late? So look,
respectfully, I'm going to just get somebody up who did vote for Donald Trump. Folks, if you voted for Donald Trump, come on up. Let's have that conversation. I mean, that guy was looking for the perfect candidate, and that ain't going to happen ever. You're never going to get the perfect candidate. Like saying like, oh, neither candidate met my criteria. I mean, come on. Like it came down to, did you want the prosecutor or the felon? You picked neither. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward answer. Anyway, Christopher, hi. Did you vote for Trump?
No, you might as well dust me. I didn't realize I was set to be a guest. Sorry, I voted for Harris, so sorry.
Thank you for voting for Harris. Thank you for voting for Kamala. No reason to be saying sorry. I appreciate you coming up. This one's not coming up. Next one. Hey, Lenny, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing good. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
I did not, but I have a lot of family members, like I think a lot of people did. And I won't take much time. I was just wondering, I'm a current millennial. You're talking about how Social Security cuts are going to hurt like my parents right now or anyone in the future that plans on taking it. Any advice for Gen X millennials? Like what can we do now proactively?
My stomach just sank even to that. That was the physical reaction I just had was something I had not felt in a long time. And I think it's because I don't have an answer for you on this. Because again, Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. And the House budget currently cuts Social Security by $1.5 trillion, increases the retirement age to 69 and cuts disability benefits. Trump is looking to cut Social Security by $1.2 trillion off the bat, and then the additional $4.9 in the income tax cut. There's not a solution to that. I don't have a solution to that. And I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. I figured you seem really educated in the topic, and I just wasn't sure if there was a glimpse of hope out there.
No, I'm sorry.
For years to come is going to be tough, but thank you for doing what you're doing. I just figured I'd ask that question.
I'm so sorry. I really wish that I could be like, here's hope on this, and like, here's what we can do. And we can't, at least for 2 years. I'm really sorry.
No, do not apologize. You keep on doing your amazing job, and we'll just kind of hold on to whatever hope we can find. So thank you.
Well, thank you for coming up. That was heartbreaking. I had a stomach reaction to that. My stomach like sank because I don't have a solution to that. Like, I don't know how to. It's the same way. Like when folks are saying, how can we fight for choice, for example? Like, we can't now. It's not an option anymore. Like, we had our chance to vote.